All right, so let's talk about a question that I hear often, and that's, when should I use my emergency fund? Well, the crazy thing about emergency funds is they're like insurance. You want to have them, but you don't want to have to use them. So it really is a catch-22. Well, what I want to share with you is whether it's a $1,000 emergency fund or a 6-month emergency fund, I want to share with you 3 guidelines that you can use to know when to have confidence to dip into your emergency fund. So the 3 guidelines, they each start with the letter N, so hopefully it's a little easier to remember. The first one is you never saw it coming, so there's no way to plan for it. The second one is there's nothing to do but use your emergency fund to pay for whatever the issue is. The third guideline is now. You got to do something about it now. Now I get it. These are just guidelines. They're not black and white. They're subjective, and they're different for every scenario, for every person. So what I want to do is give you these tools so you can use them and you use wise decisions to have confidence to know when it's okay to dip into your emergency fund. So let's look at a couple examples of emergencies and see how these 3 guidelines play into them. So let's pretend, maybe it's happened to you, that your kid breaks his ankle. Should you use your emergency fund? Well, first one is you never saw it coming. There's no way to plan for your kid to break his ankle. The second guideline is there's nothing to do but use your emergency fund to pay the doctor in the hospital to fix your kid's broken ankle. Now, if you have a sinking fund for healthcare, hospital stuff, use that sinking fund first, but you may have to dip into your emergency fund. Definitely do so. The third guideline is you got to do something now, right? You're not going to wait 30 days to figure out whether your kid's okay or not. So I definitely say that's an emergency. Use your emergency fund. The second example is, let's say your car overheats. You're driving down Interstate 75, your car overheats. You have to pull off to the side of the road. So the first guideline is you never saw it coming. So let's say in this example that there's no way to have predicted that your car was having these issues. You never saw it coming. The second one is there's nothing to do but use your emergency fund to pay to get your car fixed. And that's after you use your sinking fund, of course. And the third one is now. You got to do something now. You're on the side of the road. You have to do something now. So definitely, that'd be an emergency. Use your emergency fund. The third example we'll use is, let's say you do radon testing at your home and you get a high hit of radon. Should you use your emergency fund? Well, let's run through the 3 guidelines. The first one is you never saw it coming. So there's no way to anticipate this radon issue. Second one, you need nothing to do but use your emergency fund. So again, if you have a home maintenance sinking fund, use that first, but you may need to dip into your emergency fund. And the third one is, the third guideline is now. You got to do something now. There's some serious health issues if you wait to do something about radon, right? So definitely that'd be a time to use emergency fund as well. What about on the flip side? What about maybe some inconveniences or scenarios where you might want to use your emergency fund, but really I don't think you should? Let's run through a couple examples of those. So the first one is something that you love goes on sale, and it's just a deal you can't miss, right? So maybe it's a fishing rod, maybe it's soccer cleats, maybe it's some accessory for your car, maybe a muffler kit or something. Well, you don't have to do it now, right? You can wait. You could save up for that. So that's not an emergency. Don't use your emergency fund for that. Another example is, this happened to us a couple months ago. During a storm, we were in a grocery store parking lot, and a shopping cart, the wind just took a shopping cart and slammed it into the back of the trunk of our minivan. So there's a dent in our minivan. Is that an emergency? No, because I don't have to do anything about it now. I can save up for it and use my sinking fund for my car to pay for it. Similarly, if your paint on your car starts chipping, again, not an emergency, definitely an inconvenience, but not an emergency. Don't use your emergency fund to fix that. So here's the deal. If you protect your emergency fund, your next emergency can be an inconvenience instead of a crisis. It's up to you. So protect your emergency fund so that your next emergency is just an inconvenience, not a crisis.